all want to have a good time. We all want to have laughs and smiles and jokes, dancing and singing for us all. And unfortunately, folks, in this day and age, let's face it, everything is viral. Everything is on a computer. But something was captured 1 minute and 12 seconds. Imagine going to a comedy show. Imagine going to a comedy show. You sit in the front row and the host asks you, what do you do? And you say that you are a war crimes investigator. Now, that's a serious job. And hey, there you go. There you go. You're at a comedy show. You tell that. But then also on top of that, you then say that you're from Israel. Folks, I don't know if I could describe perfection, but this is it right here in regards to pure comedic gold. Let's play it.
And you, my man, what do you do?
Now, if this is a little bit quiet, I will be clipping this and raising up the volume, but thankfully there is subtitles.
And you, my man, what do you do? You're an investigator. What kind? Like for the police? You're a war crimes. Is that true? Is that true? Oh my God. Jeez, we really went up a notch, didn't we? Until then, it was just all fun. Like, oh, first day in the front row. And you're like, I'm here to investigate war crimes. What are you working on at the moment? What's your... Ukraine. You're working on investigating.
The crisis in Ukraine. Now, of course, there's a lot of situations taking place in Ukraine. It's a horrific, devastating war. A war that shouldn't be happening at all, period. But he's there. We're going to rewind that again one more time, just so you guys can see it. If you're just tuning in right now.
First day in the front row. And you're like, I'm here to investigate war crimes. What are you working on at the moment? What's your... Ukraine. You're working on investigating war crimes in Ukraine. Fuck me, man. I thought when you said infrastructure, it was like going to kill the energy, but fuck. you came to win. I like it. And are you from the UK? No, where are you from?
He's from Israel. That doesn't help.
From Israel. Great. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Of all the places you could have said, you're a war crimes investigator from Israel looking at Ukraine. I think the call may be coming from inside the house.
Now, it's just only a small snippet. But I think it's important that we do talk about this crisis. Because right here, I want to pull up this article here. UN Human Rights Office condemns Israel's use of 2,000-pound bombs against Gaza civilians. The United Nations Human Rights Office released a report Wednesday concluding that the Israeli military repeated use of heavy weaponry, including 2,000-pound bombs, supplied by the United States in the Gaza Strip, has likely violated international laws of war barring and targeting of civilians in disproportionate attacks. And speaking of which, before we continue on with this article, because this video came out from CNN. Shout out to Case Study QB. Biden administration disputes Israel's prime minister's public claim that the U.S. is withholding weapons because no, we're never holding back weapons. Folks, especially the diehard Republicans in the United States Senate, Biden was never, ever going to be withholding weapons. There's money to be made, lives to destroy, and unending terror.
Tonight, the Biden administration officials are forcefully pushing back after the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused the U.S. of withholding military assistance.
It's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel.
We generally do not know what he's talking about. We just don't.
My goodness. Netanyahu wants more weapons, and the United States says, man, we're giving you all of them. They're not even denying it. And yet Biden and the Democrats are wondering, gee, how come we're losing our progressive base? Gee, how come we're losing everyone across the political spectrum? Gee, how come so many countries now are starting to stand up against Israel? Gee, even corporate media can't cover up all the war crimes. Gee, goodness gracious. Why are people so angry? And which is why I played that first video of that comedian speaking to that couple at the front row. Hey, what do you do? Oh, hey, because they're in the front row, and that occasionally happens. Occasionally a comedian will talk to the audience. What do you do? I'm a war crimes expert. What are you working on? Ukraine. Where you from? United Kingdom? No. Israel. The call is coming from inside the house.
Let's go to our senior White House correspondent, MJ Lee. She's joining us from the White House. What are you hearing over there, MJ?
Well, Wolf, those comments that you just played from the prime minister accusing the U.S. of withholding weapons and ammunition from Israel did not sit well with U.S. officials. One senior official telling me that they were perplexing and they were simply wrong. And what we are learning is that U.S. officials actually privately conveyed that sentiment to the prime minister directly in a meeting yesterday. U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein told the prime minister, according to a source, that those comments were unproductive and completely untrue. And we're also learning that the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Jack Lew, in that same meeting, basically walked the prime minister through the list of arms that the U.S. is delivering to Israel to make the point that he was wrong on this. Now, there is an Israeli delegation that is currently in Washington for a series of meetings with U.S. officials. And we are learning that one meeting that was slated for tomorrow appears to have been postponed. But one official said that this was directly a result of what the video message that the prime minister put out, but other officials said that it was simply a scheduling issue. But either way, we are seeing those tensions between U.S. and Israeli officials continuing to mount as this war continues on.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you, Israel. Because here's the thing, folks. Like right now, let's make it very clear. The Israeli lobby, AIPAC, they've bought all our politicians, Democrat and Republican. I'm going to say that again, especially for the diehard vote blue no matter who, or progressives who think reforming the Democratic Party is the way to go. Our politicians are bought. It's not only just AIPAC. I mean, big banks, corporations, the top 1%. I mean, they've bought our politicians. We don't have a representative republic. We don't have a constitutional republic. We have an oligarchy, okay? But the thing is, right now, Netanyahu and his administration and the IDF have, I think it's fair enough to say, not only have they crossed the red line, they've crossed numerous red lines to where the whole world is wondering, well, gee, how does this situation in Gaza end? To which, unfortunately, I have to quote Bassem Youssef, I think Israel's going to get away with this, and people are going to die. People will die because this administration is refusing to hold Israel, Netanyahu, the IDF accountable. And yet Netanyahu has the audacity to say that the United States isn't giving him enough. How much more do you need? You got everything. Hell, in regards to madness and insanity, you have people sitting on a hill watching the bombings, the artillery shelling of civilians, and they're cheering for it like it's a Sunday night drive-in theater, movie theater. Remember those? And you got people jumping up for joy. Hell, these are war crimes. Men, women, children starving. I wonder where that war crimes investigator is at. But continue on with this article here. The attacks analyzed by the UN took place between October 9th and December 2nd of last year, involved the use of 2,000-pound, 1,000-pound, and 250-pound bombs on residential buildings, a market, refugee camps, at a school. At least 280 people were killed in the 6 Israeli attacks. You know that number was much higher. The UN found evidence suggests the actual number of fatalities could be much higher. Well, gee, you think? You think? The report says Israeli forces used routinely 9 2,000-pound bombs in December 2nd attack on a neighborhood in Gaza City, causing destruction across a distance of 130 meters. You know what the whole thing is? What they're going to do is they're going to permanently occupy Gaza. This is a full-on removal, displacement of people. I mean, one of the reasons is, look, folks, on the shore of Gaza, they found themselves a nice little natural gas, natural oil right there. And let's face it, that oil won't liberate itself, right? The Human Rights Office report is the latest of several recent UN announcements accusing Israeli forces of committing grave war crimes in Gaza, including torture, using starvation as a weapon of war, and genocide, as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu demands more weaponry from the U.S. to continue its devastating assault. How much more do you need? You got everything. Reuters reported Wednesday that Israeli tanks backed by warplanes and drones advanced deeper into the western part of the Gaza Strip city of Rafah, killing at least 8 people and forcing more residents to run for their lives. At least 1 million people have fled to Rafah since Israel began invading the city last month. Residents said tanks moved into 5 neighborhoods after midnight. Reuters noted Wednesday. Heavy shelling and gunfire hit the tents of displaced families in the Al Masra area, further to the west of the coastal enclave. Residents said Israeli army forces blew up several homes in western Rafah, which had sheltered over half of Gaza's 2.3 million people before last month when Israel began its ground offense and forced most of the population to head northwards. To which I have to say, we return back to our wonderful comedian, because life is a joke. It's a dark comedy. But my goodness, if there's ever a point in time where the killer is inside the house at the front row of a comedy show, this is it. And look, folks, I don't know how this crisis will play out, but mark my words, 10 years down the road, we're going to be dealing with the consequences and fallout from this madness that's in Gaza.
And you, my man, what do you do? You're an investigator. What kind? Like for the police? Like war crimes. You're a war crimes. Is that true? Is that true? Oh my God. Jeez, we really went up a notch, didn't we? Until then, it was just all fun. Like, oh, first day in the front row. And you're like, I'm here to investigate war crimes. What are you working on at the moment? What's your... Ukraine. You're working on investigating war crimes in Ukraine. Fuck me, man. I thought when you said infrastructure, it was like going to kill the energy, but fuck. you came to win. I like it. And are you from the UK? No, where are you from? You're from Israel. Great.
Israel, hey, I'm talking about work. They got an expert, and I saw Mastermind Hour. I think he posted it here in the chat. They actually got an expert, a war crimes expert, to talk about it. Ain't that special? It is, and yes, Mastermind, it is a very, very funny clip. Life is a joke. It's a dark comedy, and it couldn't have been done any better. But they truly, they hired a war crimes expert. Let's rewind it again one more time.
Win, I like it. And are you from the UK? No, where are you from? You're from Israel. Great. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Of all the places you could have said, you're a war crimes investigator from Israel looking at Ukraine. I think the call may be coming from inside the house.
That's a fantastic note to end it on. Folks, this crisis in Gaza, unfortunately, we lack real leaders to really call for change. But the pressure is starting to mount up. People are speaking out. The only thing that we do have to ask now is, how many more people have to die? How many more people have to lose their lives because of this madness and insanity? How many more people have to suffer? Enough is enough.